possibly.
Yeah, Tommy Luluai. I don't really understand the context for this one. Maybe someone was just thinking romantically about reminding us and making sure we talk about Tommy Luluai as his career comes to an end. So we'll move on to the most overrated player. One you did vote in, Sarah. So you've warmed up with that with the players we've just ran through there. We've warmed you up. We've brought you on board. In terms of the most overrated player, previous winners, in 2014 it was Rangi Chase. In 2015 it was shared between Carl Ablett, Matty Smith, Kevin Locke and Chris Sandow. Again, people have vastly different ideas. In 2016 it was Sam Tompkins. In 2017 it was Kevin Brown. In 2018 it was Luke Gale, how he fell. In 2019, it was Blake Austin. We were nice in 2020. We didn't award this then. And in 2021, it was Jake Connor. But in 2022, Sarah, you went for?
I went for Jack Wellesby.
Ooh, we're going to have a fight on.
The Scotters have definitely got it in for Wellesby. None of them like Jack for some reason.
He's a cheat.
We're going back to the incident where he was dropped on his head at Hull earlier in the season. That's what's done.
You mean he threw himself on his head?
Here we go. So I think determined now that he's overrated.
I think you're
not just that. There's been several incidents. I think everyone thinks he's amazing and he's all right, but he's nothing special.
See, a lot of the examples you cited were definitely reasons why he will have achieved votes in the See You Next Tuesday award. But there you go. A hot start into most overrated there. Let's move to Alan and see if Sarah's going to care as much about the player from her team this year that he's gone for.
See, I did think about this for quite a while, and I did toy with the idea of Jack Wellesby. I must admit, but I went ultimately for the player who was utter shite, and yeah, absolutely not what his new club would have hoped. I went for Luke Gale.
Not what his new club would have hoped, but also every time he played on television, they talked like he might change the game, and he kicked 140-20 that had one influential moment in one game all season.
Yeah, like to me, he just didn't even. Well, yeah, I guess I looked at the expectations at the start of the season, and certainly everyone I knew, their expectations were very low. So therefore, I didn't see how he could be overrated. But then I guess matches that he played in on telly, I tended not to see on telly, and therefore I didn't hear all the hype about him.
See, I didn't expect much from him, but he was even worse than that.
I'll go along with that. Although I went for someone different.
My prediction at the start of the season for my, say what, was that Luke Gale would spend more time in the commentary off the pitch than he would on the pitch, and I think I probably wasn't far wrong.
You're not far off. Yeah, not far off.
When that's your expectation, then it's very hard to go down.
To say he's overrated, yeah. Me and David went the same. We went for different to you guys. We went the same. Zach Hardacre. So why did you go Zach Hardacre, David?
I just think, for me, if I think back to the start of Hardacre's career and where I thought he was going, and then look at what I see now of him, watched him play both for Wigan and for Leeds this year, he's just, I don't know, there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more. I think he's capable of a huge amount more than he actually delivers. Wherever he goes, and
whereas I think people think he's capable of a lot more than he is anymore. I think he's overrated because people still think 2015, 2017 Zach Hardacre still exists. When
maybe he doesn't.
At fullback, he is not an attacking threat, and in the centres, he is not a strong defender. No. And I think so. In either position he can play in now, I think there's a weakness there, and I think if there wasn't, Leeds would have made re-signing him a priority. It seems like it's low down the list.
Yeah, and I think people do still talk about him, as if he's some sort of superstar, and I just don't see it anymore.
None of us went for the winner, although we got a fairly convincing winner. It was Jake Connor retaining his award. I'm sure he'll be delighted with that. 19% of the vote, so pretty strong winner. Sarah, you were not alone. Jack Welsby got 13% of the vote. Gail got 9% of the vote. And Morgan Smithies got 8% of the vote. And obviously you mentioned before how you felt he's overrated, Sarah. So 23 players in all got votes. The most nonsensical being all the fucking stupid Saints fans that went for Bevan French. And whoever the fuck went for James Roby.
Yeah, daft votes, those.
Now, I'm not saying either are underrated, because I'm not an idiot. But surely... Surely James Roby is one of the most fairly rated players ever, even though everyone thinks he's one of the best, because he is one of the best.
Well, I don't think anyone's talking about how good he is, and you know, we haven't talked about it consistently for like the last 15 years, have we? So I think it's really important we mention how underrated he is.
But the Ablett Award, everyone enjoys the Ablett Award. You'll have heard us when we talked about previous winners mention that in 2015 Carl Ablett won both most underrated and both most overrated, which just shows how people's minds work. We had 4 Ablett Award winners for being the most underrated and the most overrated. Those were Brodie Croft.
That's a surprise.
Yeah. George Williams. Liam Farrell, who gets it every year, I think now, just because people like to wind me up, and Morgan Smithies.
There you go.
You can't see any logic in the Brodie Croft. I don't know why Frogmore voted for Brodie Croft as being the most overrated, unless he's thinking Brodie Croft of this year still wouldn't perform well in the NRL. But Alan, I guess people can understand the other guys, can't they? Because people love to hate players at the top clubs, don't they?
Yeah, I think you explained the Williams dynamic quite well. I think the Croft one is one of those weird things. It depends when you're talking about, because you know his stock has risen massively this year, and he's getting the recognition. Obviously, he's getting the recognition at the end that nobody was talking about at the start. So, you know, if you split the season in two, maybe he would be underrated and overrated. But yeah, it's as you say, it's the dichotomy of people's opinion.
Next award, another one that can end up having quite a wide range of opinion, although was won pretty convincingly this year. Sarah, do you want to take us through the previous winners for best signing?
Yeah, so in 2014 it was Luke Walsh, 2015 Adam Cuthbertson, 2016 Kirk Gidley, 2017 Matt Parcell, 2018 Josh Drinkwater, 2019 Lachlan Coote, 2020 Aidan Caesar, and 2021 it was Ryan Hall.
Now, this year, we did the nominations like we've been doing for the last few years, where we've picked the best signing for each club that we felt was the best signing for each club. 3 of us went with Brodie Croft, me, Sarah, and David. Sarah, why did you go for Brodie Croft, or does it even need explanation? He won Man of Steel.
I just think he's been phenomenal. I think he's been like the missing piece for, well, more than just the missing piece for Salford. And yeah, his control of the game's allowed Sneyd to do his thing, and yeah, he's just been influential there. And I think again, you know, it comes down to partly that thing of like what the team is without him and compared to what the team is with him is just massive.
And I don't think anyone expected Salford to be competitive yet. For the last 2 months of the season, they were arguably the best team to watch, and Brodie Croft, I mean, not saying Andy Ackers, Mark Sneyd, Callum Watkins, Tim Laffey, Joe Burgess, Ryan Riley weren't all parts of that, but Brodie Croft was the main part of that. Alan, you went for someone else.
I did, and I'll explain myself, because you made very compelling arguments why the best signing of the year is Brodie Croft. I went for Conrad Hurrell because I suppose it's a way of me demonstrating a bit of humble pie, because I laughed at this signing when Saints signed Connie. I really did.
David screamed.
Yeah,
So did
I remember at Magic Weekend last year how devastated he was.
I thought you've signed an absolute dud there. You're getting, you're losing Nagama and you're signing this, kind of one-trick pony, not very good, drops the ball all the time type player from Leeds. And he's been a revelation this year. He has been brilliant for St Helens whenever I've seen him play. And I just wanted to recognise that I got that completely wrong. He's been very, very, very good for Saints this year.
I don't think you were the only one that got it wrong, Alan. As Mark said, I was furious, to be honest. I didn't even expect him to play. I thought...
Yeah, that's because you didn't realise how much of a biscuit Hopewati was.
That's exactly right, mate. That's exactly right. I didn't realise that part of the deal with Hopewati would be we'd get his own parking space at Wiston Hospital. So yes, I thought Hopewati would play centre and Wellsby would be fullback, and that'd be that, and maybe we'd see him once a blue moon off the bench, and that was it. But he's obviously still got a lot of flaws to his game, but I don't think anyone can argue he's not had a great season for us, and certainly Saints fans have taken him to our hearts.
Yeah, and you weren't the only person to pick him. Hurrell got 13% of the vote. Lola here got 10% of the vote. They were the only two other players to get to double figures in terms of the percentage of the vote, but the player who ran away with it was the one that most of us four went for. It was Brodie Croft with 62% of the vote. Interesting non-counting votes were made for Joe Westerman. He was a returning signing for Cass, so doesn't count under our methodology. And a rather clever vote, I thought, a best signing for 2022, went to Channel 4. He didn't count in the votes, but I thought that was a good vote.
Good vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Worst signing. Alan, do you want to take us through the previous winners? And it's basically the Warrington slash Leeds award, but will that be the case in 2022?
Yeah, what a rogues gallery this is. In 2014, it was Roy Asatasi. 2015, Chris Sandow. 2016, Bo Falloon. 2017, Kevin Brown. 2018, Tyrone Roberts. 2019, Tuilola here. Didn't award it in 2020 because we were being nice, and in 2021 it was Greg Inglis.
Clarify as well, 2019 it was Tuilola here for Leeds. I think he came runner-up in best signing for Salford that year. We all went the same in this one, so David, I'll let you explain your choice, and then we'll chip in if we need to, because I think we've covered this well already.
I think we've already covered it in great detail. I went for Luke Gale. Now, Sarah's said that her expectations were low. Alan said that his expectations were low, but he still beat them. I have to say, I thought Gale would be an important player for Hull this year, and I was just wrong.
Sarah, is there anything more to say about how disappointing Luke Gale has been for Hull FC this year? It's so disappointing, yeah?
So Luke Gale's best match for Hull was Leeds away when he was in the commentary box.
Oh, Sarah, that's a great one.
What I would say is I didn't expect him to get banned so much. I didn't necessarily expect him to be such a whiny bastard with his teammates. I don't know Luke Gale personally, so I don't know if he's a good or bad guy, and I'm sure he's not a bad guy. He has his community foundation stuff and all that stuff that he does. But it just seems so unlikable on a pitch in a team right now. Or has done this year anyway. And that is not a captain, is it?
Yeah, and can I just say, I wasn't overly keen on him as a person when I met him.
Luke Gale's getting a right drubbing here, isn't he?
He is, isn't he?
Who's signing him for next year? Who's the poor sods who...
Well, Torquay's Wakefield.
Well, they're desperate.